Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. This year should be a special schus for our Asana Miriam Baschana, and Li Nishmas, Rav Alexander Zusha, Bado Ben Chaim L'Chaim, Nishmas Alexander Zusha, Ben Rabbi Yosef, and Maris Altachana, Basir Meir Zev. We'll be learning B'siyata D'Shmai about Kinyan Chazaka, based on a shir given by a Gaon Rav Ariyav Ozer Shlita. It says in the Torah, go walk the land, the length and the width of the land, because I'm going to give it to you. Hashem says to Avraham Avinu. We learn in a Brayso Maseches Bava Basra and Daf Kuf that if a person walks on land, he's kona of the land. That's the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Chachamim argue, and they say that Hiluch is not effective. You have to do a Kinyan Chazaka. Rabbi Eliezer says that we have a pasuk. Rabbi Eliezer says that Rabbi Eliezer has a pasuk. That's his Kinyan. And the Rabbanan say, no, that's not the Kinyan. That's just because Hashem had chavivus for Avram, so he told him to walk the land, and it'll make it easier for his children to capture. And the Rabbi Yossi Rechanina says in the Gemara there that Chachamim are moded Rabbi Eliezer that in a shvil, in a pathway of kramim, of vineyards, since it's made for the purpose of walking, that is nikneh b'hiluch, that is acquired with hiluch. And we have a psak of the Rambam, Hilchos Mechira Perek Aleph Halacha Yud Gimel, that hiluch is not koneh, like the Chachamim, except in a shvil shel kramim, like Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina says. Now, the Rambam brings Dinei Chazaka in two places, in the first parak of Hilchos Mechira, and in the second parak of Hilchos Zechiyah. And this duality, this double, this dual citation of Hilchos, of Kinyan Chazaka, is explained based on the Chiddush of the Rambam, that there are Chilukei Dinim in Kinyan Chazaka, whether one is kona from his friend or he is kona min ha'hefker. In Hilchos Mechira, the Rambam is talking about kona mechavero, and in the second paragraph of Hilchos Matana, he's talking about zocha min ha'hefker like b'nichsei ger shemeis, and they're different because we see in the Rambam that sometimes it works for one and not for the other. And the Rambam says that achilas peiros is effective as a kinyan chazaka when it's from one's friend, but not min ha'hefker. And hatzos matzos, putting sheets or blankets on the karka, or plowing a little bit, that is effective min ha'hefker, but not from one's friend. The Ravid is masik and is chiluk, and he learns that a cheskes kinyan is the same, and if it works for one, it has to work for the other, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work for either of them. The Rambam makes a chiluk between kinyan min ha'hefker and kinyan mechavero. The makor of the Rambam is in the Gemara Bava Basra and of Min Zayin, that near benichsei hager, that making a charisha on the property of a ger is kone, and benichsei chavero is not kone, and achilas peres benichsei havero is kone, and benichsei hager is not kone. And the Rambam learns that they're both talking about a chezkas kinyan, and there's a difference between being kone from your friend and being kone benichsei hefker. And the makor of the Rambam is in Rav Hai Gaon in the Sefer Mekach, Perek Yud Gimel, who explains the Gemara like that. There's a distinct kone from one's friend and kone from hefker. However, the Ravid learns the Gemara like the Rashbam and most Mefarshim, that we're not mechalik in the Gemara between kinyan and kinyan, rather bein chezkas kinyan lechezkas gimel shon. In other words, whether it's a chezkas kinyan, whether it's mekach or memkar, or it's zechiyah min ha'hefker, and that's that, and chezkas gimel shanim, which is a raya on another kinyan that was made on this chayfetz, but it itself is not a kinyan, as is well known. There are numerous shitas as to the nature of this chazaka, that it's a raya on another kinyan that was made on this chayfetz. And that's what it means in the Gemara when it says that near is kana b'nichsei hager. What it means is b'chezkas kinyan. Because b'nichse ager, that's hefker, there's no cheskes raya. And the fact that the Murakama didn't protest, obviously, because the ger is dead. So when it says near kana b'nichse ager, we're talking about a cheskes kinyan. And when it says and not nichse chavero, and not when one is actually buying, he's making a cheskes kinyan, he's buying it from his friend. When you want to acquire something, there's one halacha, and when you want to you want to prove that you own it, there's another type of chazaka. So near proves near. B'nichse hager is a kinyan, that's the act of actual acquisition, but it's not nichse chavero, but it's not a raya on a kinyan. That you bought it, or that it was given to you as a matana. And on that it says that achilas peiros is a proof of purchase. It's a proof of kinyan, but it itself, hatzos matzos, is not a kinyan. It's just a proof of a kinyan. On the other hand, hatzos matzos, placing down of sheets or blankets, that's not a proof, but it is a maisa kinyan. So the chiluk of the Ravid and the Rashbam and others is that the achilas peiros is a raya on a kinyan, but it itself is not a kinyan. And hatzos matzos is itself a kinyan, but it's not a raya on a kinyan. And the Rambam learns differently. The Rambam learns that achilas peiros is a kinyan from one's friend, not like the Ravid learns that achilas peiros is a hochacha on a kinyan, but rather the Rambam learns that it's a kinyan from one's friend, but not from hefker. And hatzos matzos, the Rambam learns, is, or someone who makes a charisha, is effective if it's kona min ha-hefker, but not when he's kona me chavero, as opposed to the Ravid learns that hatzos matzos, it's not pshat. That you're kona min ha-hefker, pshat is that it's a ma'aseh kinyan, and not just a hochacha. So even though the makor of the Rambam is clear, but we have to understand his reason b'svara. What's the yisod achiluk if one is kona me chavero or min ha-hefker? Why would there be a different kinyan? And b'frat, we have to understand, how could there be cases where it's effective b'kniya me ha-hefker, and it's not effective b'kniya me chavero, b'chol makom shedas acheres makne? It's better. It's adif tfei, and it's easier to acquire when there's no das acheres makne, like a cotton. Shein lo zechia, but b'das acheres makne, a number of Rishonim hold that it's d'oraisa. So how can it be that there are instances where it's moil b'kniya min ha-hefker, and it's not moil b'kniya me chavero when your friend is giving it to you, is das acheres makne? It should be an easier kinyan. We also have to understand the tam hipuch hadinim, that sometimes it works for this and not for that, sometimes for that and not for this. Sometimes it works b'kona chavero and not from hefker, and sometimes vice versa. How are we supposed to understand this? So first we have to be mevar yisod b'gidrei kinyanim. So the chakira that's well known in Batei Medrash all over the universe is a chalos kinyan nif'eles mikoyach ma'aseh hakinyan shel halokeach, that the ma'aseh hagba and the Mashiach is kone, or is a chalos kinyan mikoyach gemiras das of the makne, and the ma'aseh kinyan is moira and the gemiras das, and ma'aseh kinyan shows that there's gemiras das. However, presenting the chakira in this way is really not correct, because they're both true. There are certainly cases where the ma'aseh kinyan of the kone is poel, the kinyan alone, and there are other instances that the ma'aseh isn't effective unless you have a gemiras das mitzad hamakne. What's the first instance where the ma'aseh kinyan is poel, the kinyan alone? Zechia min ha-hefker. There's no das makne. The chalos kinyan is mikoch ma'aseh kinyan levado. It's pashut that gemiras das mitzad hakona is ineffective. Without a ma'aseh kinyan, its gemiras das is nothing. So avada there, you need the ma'aseh kinyan. And the Yisod Pulas Kinyan, Ba'ofen Zeh, we can explain based on the Chasim Sofer, and the Tshuvas, and Yoredeh Siman Shin Yud, that he's Mefaresh, how Kinyan were made before Matan Torah, Al Yedei Shlita Mitziyutit B'Chefetz, by practically showing that this object is yours. You put it in your hand, you bring it home. And then Nitna Torah B'Nischat Shua L'Hilchos Kinyanim, that even a Maisa that shows that you have Shlita is enough, even though B'Mitzias you don't have Shlita Gemur. And the explanation is that Rabbi Hosseinu were Meyased, Rav Shimon Shkop, Rav Naftali Trop, the Od, that Abalut B'Chefetz Hi HaShlita Alav. Ve'en Abalut Toar Mufshat, Ela Shlita Mitziutit. Uleolam Koach HaBa'alut Nimdad V'Talui Lefi Yecholet HaShlita, She'al Ken Ovdan HaShlita Muchlat Al HaChefetz Mafkia Memela Et HaBa'alut Alav V'Hudin Zuto Shel Yam HaMevo'ar Bagmara, which means in spoken Portuguese that ownership of an object is that you are in control of it. You have shlita on it. And it is not, bailus is not an abstract description, but rather it is a practical control issue. And always the power of ownership is measured and depends on the capacity to own the object, to rule over, to control, the object. And therefore, if somebody completely loses control over an object, then Mela, there is a hafka, there is a removal of his bailus. And that's the din of Zuto Shel Yam. Something gets lost at sea. Shimshata Fanar Chayfetz, that if the river swept away the object, it's hefker, like most Rishonim learn. That's not mitam yeyush, and even if he's omed v'tzovech, it's exeris hakosav, but the chayfetz is hefker. Not like it learns bepashtus divrei Rashi that it's tolan yeyush b'aylam b'foal. So since this person has no shlita ala chayfetz, memela there is a din of hefker. Kayotze b'zeh v'chulin. We find something similar. That if you have Tarnagola Shel Hekdesh Shamar Dela Midbar Yotzis L'Chulin, we see there in the Rashba and the Ritva that since this Tarnagolas ran away and Hekdesh loses Rishus over her, there is no longer Bailos. You can't say it's Mitam Yeyush because Hekdesh can't have Yeyush. Because we're talking there about Hekdesh Bedek Habayis, and the Yisod Kedushas Hekdesh Bedek Habayis is from the Ba'alut HaMamonit Shel Rishus Hekdesh. And therefore, Kishe Paka Shlita Legamrei, Paka Be'alut, Umemela Paka Kedusha. If there's no more Shlita, there's no more Bailus, and Memela there's no longer any Kedusha. And when a person loses partial control over an object, like an object that was stolen from somebody, so he loses his Koach HaBailus B'miktsas. And that's the gather of Shalo, Ve'eno Bershuso, that he can't be makne this object, and he can't be makdish this object, because the Nigzal loses certain shlita over this object, but not completely, because the Gazlan is Mechuyev Behashava. And if so, just like losing shlita activates a loss of bailus, so too, L'tzad HaChiyuv. Hishtaltut al hachefetz, taking control over an object, mehava kinyan, constitutes a kinyan. And before Matan Torah, you needed a shlita mitziutit, you needed practical control, and the Torah is mechadesh that even a maisa that symbolizes control, like lifting it up, etc., that is effective to acquire, or even Hagba al yidei davar acher, that the chayfetz is in your hand, or a person's mekashkesh b'kain, he's starts banging in a nest, and the birds fly away. So that is a show of ownership, of mishlita metziutit, and there is a kinyan mikoach maisa hishtaltut varaz bailus beloy das makne klal uklal. The second oifen, kinyanim that are chal mikoach kamar daito shalam makne, and not by this maisa of hishtaltut, of taking control. Like a kinyan sudar, that there's no maisa begufo shel hachefetz, just the makne is koine sudar shel hakoine, the halacha that we paskin, the kelev shel hakoine. And with that, he's makne the chefetz, he causes the chefetz to be acquired by his friend, as Machlokas Rishonim, if a kinyan sudar is effective mitoras kesef. Rashi Gidmim Amud Aleph, Tosfos Lamed Tes Amud Beis, Ravid Hilchos Abadim Perek Halacha Gimel V'Od. Also look in Tosfos and the Rishonim Kedushin Gimel Amud Aleph. In other words, the kinyan is activated by Kabbalas Tmura, by getting something in return, what we used to call in the old days barter. So if there's a barter, then that's what activates the kinyan. Ubedome the kinyan kesef. So they have different halachas and they have a different name. But sof kol sof, it's like kinyan kesef. Or the inyan of kinyan sudar is like a symbolic act that expresses the gemirus das of the makne. In Ritva Kedushin Chaf Beis and Meiri Bav Metzia Mem Zayin. And that's Kipshuto Shel Mikra, Zos Lefanim B'Yisrael, Al HaGiula Ve'al HaTmura, V'Kayim Kol Davar, Shalaf Ishnai Lo V'Nosan L'Re'ehu. And that's what they used to do, to redeem things, to exchange things, to be Mekayim everything. A man would take off his shoe and give it to his friend, and with that, the kinyan would be active. In other words, there's a maisa that shows the kiyum, the hachlata of the geula, of the mechira, or of the tmura, of the hachlafa, either the sale or the exchange. That's the inyan of kinyan sudar. Either it's kabbalas tmura, or it's a symbolic act that shows the gemirus das of the makne. And so it says in the Yerushalmi, Kedushin, Perek Aleph, Halacha Hey. Shebarishon hayukonim b'minol b'sandal. Originally they would buy with a shoe or with a sandal. Kasuv zos l'fumnim b'Yisrael, etc. Shalaf ishnalo. Chazur liknos b'ktsatza. What does that mean? Mevim chavis malei agozim. They bring a barrel filled with nuts, klayos, v'shovrim f'nei hatinokos. They break in front of the kids. Hatinokos melaktin ve'omrin niktzis ish ploni me'achuzasa. Just like this has been broken, so too, so-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, has been cut off, broken off from his portion. So this mice, even though it has no haraz bailus, but it's the kinyan is chal al yedei gmirus das hamakne, and the inyan of the maisa is to be moire on this gemirus das of the makne. And the Rishonim say that the same applies to other things that the Sochrim are noeg to do a Maisa Kinyan, like Tkiyas Kaf. That's Kinyan HaMoil B'Din. And that's the Yisod Din Situmta that we see in Bav Metzi Ayin Dalet. In other words, this Roshem that the Sochrim used to put on the Chaviyos, Hanim Karos, to know, to make a sign that they were sold. So if you make a Kinyan with this Rishum, with this mark, then it's a Kinyan. Because that's why there's Gemiras Das. In the Diamond District, I come from a family of people who for Osek and Diamonds, my grandfather, Olav Shalom. So there they shake hands. After a deal, they say Mazel and Bracha. Shine, that's it. That's the Kinyan. That's this Tkiyas Kaf. And that shows this Gemiras Das. Das Haramah, Shekinyan Zeh Midrabanan, Ulam HaChatam Sofer Nakat, שהקניין מועיל מדאורייתא, וכן העריך בדבר אברהם בסימן א', והביא כן מחידושי מערית בקידושין דף ג', שסמטומתא מועילה מדין קניין סודר, שעניין שניהם אחד הוא, מעשה המורה על ההחלטה וקיום הדבר. So this simtumta is a ma'aseh that shows that you want this to be done, כפי הנהוג בכל makom umakom. According to this, Kinyan Sudar and Situmta are not shach b'zechem and a hefker. Not only because there's no moicher to do the ma'isa, but mitzad etzem minyanim, because these kinyanim are not moil mitzad ma'isa ras bailus v'shtaltus hakoineh, just mitzad the gemiras das of the makneh. And if there's no makneh, there's no kinyan. So we have a ma'isa kinyan where there's no taking control over an object or haras bailus, just a symbol of Gemiras Das, V'chalos HaKinyan, Mitzah Mikoach, Gemiras Das, Hamakne. Okay, Baruch Hashem, B'siyata D'Shmaya, we have learned a little bit about kinyanim. Two different types of kinyanim. And hopefully as we continue, we will understand Kinyan Chazaka better, Shittas HaRambam better, and we'll give ourselves a bracha that we should be zocheh, lilmod u'lamed, lishmor v'lasos, u'l'kaim is called divrei salmator so b'yahava, amen v'amen, shalom, shalom, sweetest and most beloved friends.